Marriage is dead. Looking for advice. Sorry, long post ahead. Been married for 16 years and it's always been pretty good. Never especially great, but I try to live life always making the best of what you've been given and look for things to be grateful for and find ways to have joy even in the worst of times. My husband and I started having problems last fall when he read a text of mine to a girlfriend about how I had feelings for another man who I was hanging out with for skate workouts a couple times a week at a nearby park. We would meet up early morning and skate about 13 miles and then usually hang out for a bit talking. We tried several times to get other skaters to join us, but without much luck, and that's how we came to be the only ones going because we were always up for it and didn't mind going early. We would usually bring our kids on the weekends, but not during the week since we would go pretty early and we were training for an inline skate marathon. Not long after the text viewing happened, the guy started dating someone and we stopped skating not much longer after that because winter was coming and it got too cold and he didn't have much free time anymore because of late nights with his new girlfriend. I know it wasn't right to hang out with him, so much talking after we would skate our miles together. I admitted to my husband that I shouldn't have done that, and I didn't hang with him much after that, just would see him and his kids at birthday parties and sports events since we all speed skate on the same team. My feelings that I had developed were short-lived because we weren't hanging out anymore, but my husband couldn't seem to move past it. Apparently, he's never even had a second thought about any other women and would never let himself get into a situation where feelings could develop. I told him that's great and explained again how I didn't plan this. I wasn't trying to just go meet up with this guy to be alone with him. It was for skate training, and we tried to get others to come, but that never worked out. I also apologized several times for having feelings and not stopping the workout sooner. My husband kept thinking this was horribly devastating news for his family and the rest of his life and spent the next 7 or so months trying to fix us by talking about it and rehashing it over and over again, always ending up with him crying so loudly that it's no wonder the kids didn't ask us what was going on. But thankfully they are mostly young enough to not understand, or were already asleep, or the older ones busy playing computer games or watching TV. He brought up divorce many times, and I kept telling him that I'm not going anywhere, that I'm committed to him and our kids. But naturally, him falling apart emotionally in front of me so many times put quite a damper on our connection over the months, and intimacy started to get less and less, and now it's been several months since we've done anything. The last time he asked, it was the worst experience I've had with sex. I don't want to repeat that ever again. For our anniversary at the end of May, he just assumed I didn't want to do anything. So I practically had to drag him out of the house to go on a date, and he spent most of the time complaining about our lack of sex life, and as a married couple we're supposed to be in love and having sex. I calmly listened to his complaints and shared how it's been hard to feel attracted to him because of all the talks and seeing him cry so many times. About a week later, we were having yet another talk in the backyard, and it ended with me muttering about how I wanted to be married to someone who could take care of themselves because he was crying at this point and he screamed at me, got divorce papers that he had already printed up a couple weeks before and were lying in his truck, and threw them at me and stormed off in his truck. I didn't do anything rash because it's never wise to make life-impacting decisions when you're all heated up over something. He came back after a bit and ripped the papers up and threw them out. He hasn't complained much since then, and we just haven't talked much since then, just going about our lives. He works, I stay home with the kids, homeschool, teach piano lessons for extra money, handle all the finances, take care of planning all birthday parties, vacations, etc. I've always done pretty much everything to keep the house running smoothly. Now that it's been a few months of quiet with only a few outbursts and crying sessions, life is going, and I'm not worried about him trying to serve me with divorce papers. For a couple weeks back in the spring, he said I need to tell him if I can be in love with him and attracted to him, because if not, he wants to leave. But then he changed his mind and said he's totally committed to our family and will love me forever even if it's painful for him, and can't understand why I don't love him anymore. And I do feel like I have the upper hand, because if he did threaten divorce again, I wouldn't hesitate to sign the papers. At this point, literally the kids are the only reason I'm still married to him. I keep trying to think better of him when he's gone at work, but then he comes home and I see how depressed he's gotten, and his job has become really bad in the past couple months, and I know I could make it better by just being there for him and giving him a hug and telling him it will all be okay. And then the thought of doing that makes me resent him even more because why can't he be okay without it? Why is it all on me to make our marriage better? In his mind, I'm the one who ruined everything by having feelings for another man. But I still loved him back then and had no desire to leave him for the other man. It was just a silly crush, and then after the months and months of seeing him fall apart so hard emotionally, I've lost all feelings for him, and I don't think they will ever come back. And all I think about most days when I have time to think about him is how he never understood me. He doesn't care about the things that are really important to me. We have almost no shared interests. I've planned every birthday, holiday party, vacation, date night, anniversary trip. I remember all the important things to do around the house. I pay all the bills. I work really hard to make sure we have friends and that my kids have friends. He doesn't see much need in that, complains that we're out so much for sports stuff, doesn't view health and fitness as much importance, and only wants me and his kids for the rest of his life. Is it so wrong that I want so much more? Is it bad that I don't want to have to keep doing all that I've been doing and continue to live with someone like him? I don't regret marrying him. I was ready at that time to be a wife and mom, and I love our kids and love being a mom. But when I started having the time to go out and do things again as myself and not just as a mom, he didn't take it well. He doesn't understand why I want to go have another life, as he calls it, away from the family, but really I get 1 or 2 nights away from all of them. The rest of my nights out are with the kids at sports practices. He chooses to stay home and not be very involved. We tried couples therapy, and at the first session he started talking and crying right after we sat down, and then we heard that the place wouldn't see us again until we had separate sessions. I went once and felt it was a complete waste of time. Since only he is covered by insurance, I have to pay out of pocket for my sessions, so I didn't go back because I have friends I can talk to that will give me the same advice for free. He went a couple times and then stopped going. He said he didn't like how the therapist was telling him to live, said it sounded way too selfish. So that's where we are now. I don't want to upset the kids' lives. I just don't know how much either of us can go on like this, just coexisting together with our 4 kids. Anyone have any advice, or been in a similar situation?